Hold! A voice shouts forcefully, trying to hide the quaver of nerves. The shadows shift. A figure appears from the cluster of houses, and then another, and then another. Soon there are a half dozen wearing heavy woolen cloaks over their yeoman's garb, weapons at the ready. Weapons? Now that you look closely, you can see these form as primitive arms for what they are. Belt knives tied to staves, fist-sized axes suitable for chopping wood, makeshift polearms made from scythe blades, and pruning hooks. They are the weapons of a desperate militia, not a true fighting force. The woman who first called to you, tall, straight-backed, and golden-haired, approaches you. "What's your business here?" she demands, her hands conspicuously strained to the hatchet at her belt. "I'm an adventurer from Kendrickstone," you reply. "The Baroness sent me here to deal with the Razor Claw." The woman gives you a defiant look and replies as if your very presence insults her. "Well, go back and tell her ladyship that we can deal with the Razor Claw ourselves. We can defend our own homes just fine." One of the men in front of you shakes his head. He has the same features as the woman, though he is stockier. "Hold a moment, Maud," he interjects. "This one looks like a fighter. Are you a fighter?" You shrug. Sort of, I guess. I've seen a few fights." The man eyes you for a moment and nods. "Aye then. Then you should be able to handle yourself. Every pair of strong arms helps." The woman sighs. "Very well. My name is Maud, and this is my brother, Stefan. We plan to fight the Razor Claw when it attacks tonight. Will you fight with us?" What's your plan, exactly?" "Our plan is simple," Maud replies. "First, we'll tie up one of our sheep between two cottages, and then we'll hide until nightfall. When the Razor Claw sees the sheep, it will go for it. And then," Maud smirks her closed fist into an open palm, "we'll jump it. We'll keep it occupied while my brother spears it." Stephen smiles. Stephen smiles as he hefts his weapon, an ash-hafted spear, the only proper weapon in the lot. "I can do it. I've spent 6 years in Baroness's retinue. I know how to use this," he says confidently. "The thing comes out, and I'll stick the point right on his belly. He won't lock it up. He won't lock it up anyway, he won't." The others within earshot cheer. You wonder if any of them will be cheering once they're face to face with a snarling beast 4 times their size. The farmers around you are clearly not fighters. Some hold their improvised weapons like the farming implements they once were. When the time comes, will they hold? These people might not stand much of a chance without your help. Then again, you might not stand much of a chance against the Razor Claw by yourself without theirs. "So, will you fight with us?" Maud asks again. Yeah, because I'm definitely not gonna do this alone. "I'll fight with you." Maud and Stephen break out in broad grins at your answer. The others cheer. "So you shall," Stephen exclaims and pats you on the back. "Now let's find your arm place and get set up." Maud and Stephen spend the next few hours setting up the trap. A sheep is brought out and tied to a stake set in the center of the hamlet. You remember the Baroness's advice about attacking the beast at range. When you tell the farmers about this, one brings back an old bow, which he assures you wasn't ever used for poaching. Right. Maud quickly places him on the thatched roof of one of the cottages. The farmers find you a hiding place for when darkness falls and the Razor Claw is likely to strike. Until then, the farmers share their simple food with you and wait nervously for the sun to drop below the horizon. You eat your bread and cheese in trepidation as the sky darkens and the day begins to end. Finally, Maud gives the order to go to your positions. You go to the hiding place the farmers showed you when you settle in, weapon at the ready as night falls. You wait. You stay still as the sun sinks underneath the horizon, the air grows chilly, and the stars reveal themselves in the night sky. It is difficult to see anything beyond arm's reach. The only evidence you have that your compatriots have not fled are the quiet, shallow sounds of their breathing, barely noticeable among the ambient sounds of the night. Then there is a sudden sound of rustling leaves from the forest. You grip your weapon tighter as you feel your heart begin to pound. Your core is close, you can feel it. A new sound grows louder and louder, the rapid beating of heavy feet against the ground. Then there is a low growl. Before you know it, you see the razor claw. A beast the size of a warhorse, its spines glistening in the faint starlight as it leaps into the center of the settlement. The sheep goes down with little more than a loud strangled bleat as the powerfully muscled beast tears into it with its claws. Now! Oh, now! The farmers burst into action, an arrow buries itself in the beast's flank. From one side, Maud charges in, a cry of rage on her lips and her hatchets raised high above her head. From the other, Stefan rushes forward, spear held low at the ready. And more dark shapes join them, their makeshift weapons at hand. Will you join them? What do we have? I think we just have the sling, right? Okay. Staying unseen is easy in the dead of night. Only the faint reflections of the starry sky light the world around you. In addition, you're likely to have little problem evading the notice of a beast already beset by your allies. No, the problem for you is getting close enough without being detected to strike the single fatal blow you'll need to land to bring this fight to an end. Your staff would be far too unwieldy for the job. Instead, you opt to draw your belt knife and hope that its thin, nimble blade will prove worthy of the task you require of it. Step by step, you make your way around the gathering of cottages as the farmers engage the beast. Ahead, you see Maud, her hatchets flashing as she swings at the razor claw and leaps away, hoping to bait the beast into attacking her. From the other side, Stefan lunges forward, his spear thrusting forth. The razor claw rolls aside. Something must have tipped it off. The beast spins about in a single twirling step. The creature assails the spearman and snaps Stefan's spear shaft with a single errant sweep of his claw. You rush in from the side, keeping to the shadows as best you can. You wait until the beast's head is turned before you rush forward, charging in for the kill. The blow comes from nowhere. Something you did must have warned it, must have gotten its attention. One moment you are rushing in, knife at the ready to strike a fatal blow. The next your head explodes in pain, and the faint light of the nighttime stars go out. You awake to darkness of night, but the glare of the sun streaming through a window of your darkened chamber. Your head still aching. You sit up. You are in bed in a room with stone walls, the fortress of Sana Merce. You feel thirsty, hungry, and nauseous all at once. You are covered in sweat, and you are also not alone. You've woken up, Axius, observes Dame Mildred from the other side of the room. Good. About time. What happened? You ask, so weak as you prop yourself up. The razor claw happened, of course. Dame Mildred deadpans. You're damn lucky those farmers were there. They fought off the beast and dragged you here. Well, the ones that survived did. My mother was able to get her here to attend you, but you've been recovering ever since. You are so full of questions. First of all, how long have I been out? The knight shrugs. 4 days? Maybe 5? I came when I was given the news of your failure upon my return from the north. You nod silently. 4 days. That explains why Dame Mildred is here. It also means that the Razor Claw has attacked on at least 3 more nights, perhaps striking the settlements in outlying farms that were not evacuated. The potential cost of your failure chews on your stomach from the inside. Even so, you have more questions. What happened to the farmers? Dame Mildred frowns. I spoke to the 2 who brought you in here. You nod impassively. They knew the risk when they stayed to fight. If any of them met their fate against the Razor Claw, that was their own fault and nobody else's. They said they were told to take your body and carry you back here. The knight continues. The rest stayed behind to cover your escape. A noble decision, however foolish. What happens now? The knight purses her lips. Now? You rest. As soon as you are well enough to travel, I will take you back to Kendrickstone. You protest immediately. But nothing, Dame Mildred snaps. You have already proven yourself unable to complete this task, which I so foolishly offered you. She pauses, takes a breath, and begins again in a calmer voice. It is not an insult, boy. It is a statement of fact. You were not strong enough to beat the Razor Claw, and your days unconscious have weakened you further. I will not see you throw your life away in a vain attempt to prove your own. The knight of Kendrickstone steps back and looks out the window towards Kendrickstone. I'll check back on you again tomorrow. Hopefully you'll be up and walking by then. You feel much stronger the next morning after a meal and a full night's sleep when Dame Mildred drops by again. You're indeed up and about. With no further reason to remain in Sana Merce, the two of you depart that morning. The trip back to Kendrickstone is an easy one. The two of you encounter no other travelers, and you make good progress, reaching the gates only a few hours after noon. There the knight leaves you to return to her own duties at the keep. From the gates you cross the city through the streets that become so familiar to you until you reach William of Halliford's manse. A smallly dressed servant brings you to William of Halliford as soon as you arrive. You find him sitting in a private solar with a pair of attendants. An array of soups, pies, and roast meats sit before him. Presumably you have caught him in the middle of his supper. Ah, access, he exclaims with a congenial delight. Welcome back. He turns to one of the men beside him. Athelstan, set my young friend a place. Immediately, the servant springs into action. Within a moment, he has placed a chair. Soon there is a trencher of black bread, a bowl, a spoon, and a knife in front of it, accompanied by a silver basin for washing. Now I'm sure you are hungry after your long journey. He extends a hand towards the chair set for you. Please, sit, eat, business can wait. You eat in silence, too hungry to speak as you work your way through your master's well-kept table. William himself seems nothing other than friendly, even offering you choice cuts of meat and serving you a fat slice of steaming cherry pie with his own hands. Finally the dishes are cleared away. So, to business then. Your boss leans forward, elbows on the table, his eyes staring at you from behind his clasped hands. Do you have what I asked for? The armor? 1 second. There we go. You hand over the pieces. You hand over the pair of gauntlets you stole from the forge at Sana Merce. The master of thieves looks over the pieces for a moment, turning them over in his hands before nodding, a satisfied grin on his face. Yes, these pieces are absolutely superb. They will do nicely. William hands off both pieces and reaches into his belt. He pulls out a heavy gold coin and slides it across the table towards you. Then he produces a roll of parchment sealed in red wax. You take the gold and open the parchment. It only takes you a moment to recognize it. A red of protection, already signed and made good for the next 3 months. For the reward for your loyalty, your boss explains. Soon afterward, you find yourself escorted back to your lodgings by a pair of your boss's servants. The streets are already nearly pitch black, so by the time you arrive, your eyelids already feel heavy, your legs ache, and your mind is fuzzy from fatigue. You are on the edge of consciousness by the time you close the door to your room behind you. You barely have enough energy to take off your boots before you tumble into bed. You fall asleep almost immediately. Even as the days grow shorter and colder, the bandit attacks increase in strength and frequency. Soon news of new bandit raids comes every day. Tales of black-clad marauders. Let's see. Around the city become familiar to every man, woman, and child within the walls of Kendrickstone. The three major roads leading to Kendrickstone's gates are rendered all but impassable by constant attacks. As the last harvest of the year starts, the worry becomes palpable. There is only enough farmland around the city to feed 2/3 of the city's population. The rest must be shipped from frontier. From frontier homesteads in the Iron Marches or the vast noble estates near the coast. With the bandits in black menacing the roads, far too many of the food caravans simply don't take the risks. Most of those that do are waylaid and slaughtered. The prices of bread, ale, and beef skyrocket in Kendrickstone, and with them the price of everything else. Raised by crafters, laborers, and publicans desperate to feed themselves. Every week the Duke's Knights sortie into the forest in search of bandit cabins. They find nothing. All this means for you is that your job has gotten significantly more difficult. Once again, you run through the busy streets of Kendrickstone carrying messages and packages for William of Halliford's organization. However, the increasing pressure of rising prices means less work for you. The economic machinery of the great city is slowing down, its mechanisms straining under the effects of the increasing bandit attacks. Fewer people can afford to pay for deliveries or even scrape together enough money for their writs of protection. After a few weeks, you find yourself pulled off your familiar duties and assigned something entirely new. Enforcement duty. With so many in the city unable to afford to purchase protection, your boss has decided to make up losses by taking from those who fail to pay. More qualms aside, you look forward to the prospect. Enforcers get paid more than couriers, after all. For the next month, you are trained in the arts of stealth, moving quietly across cobblestone streets, using shadows to move unseen, and the rough movements needed to quickly snap another human being's neck. You're also taught to use the vast arsenal available to William of Halliford's enforcers. Crossbows, short swords, cudgels, stilettos, and dozens of other types of weaponry. Though you will not be issued such arms unless your duties require it, you do learn their strengths and weaknesses, as well as how to wield them properly. Your pay, as ever, is regular and generous. Even with prices on the rise, still, the cost of living has increased dramatically, perhaps enough to reconsider your spending habits. How much do we have? We're gonna go even here. You're not rich and you know it, however you do drop some money on a few things here and there to make your life a bit more comfortable. You buy a new tunic, when your old one starts falling apart, and a Tengen or Sean read now and again. They're little things, but they keep your spirits up without emptying your purse. Despite your long work days, you still have a few hours of leisure at the end of the day. How do you spend them? Guess that. Books are an expensive commodity, even in the great city. It doesn't help that the increased bandit attacks have hit booksellers hard, forcing the ones that have not closed to drive up their prices. After a few evenings of browsing the bookshops, you think of a few titles you might want to buy. In the end, you settle on A Merchant's Guide to the Concordat, a book of trade routes and markets. Actually, that one might be useful given the recent thing. You spend your evenings poring over descriptions of the Concordant's major centers of trade, from the shining city of Concordat itself on the eastern coast to Torren Hall, Mill Bridge, the frontier fortress of Ironwall, and of course Kendrickstone. The book gives you a new appreciation of just how interconnected your home city is with the rest of the human realms that it surrounded. Without trade, Kendrickstone would likely not even be a fifth of the size of it is today. One morning you report to William of Halliford's men, so further training as an enforcer. You are instead ushered in another direction by the guard, not towards the army, but up a flight of stairs and down a chain of corridors. Eventually, you are led into a small room, where William of Halliford himself awaits. Please, sit down, Axis. he says, motioning to a chair opposite his desk with one hand as he pours out 2 cups of wine with the other. So, he says as you sit down, your training is going well, I trust. You nod. William of Halliford smiles as he takes one of the cups and pushes the other towards you over the polished wooden desktop, the deep red liquid rippling in its burnished brass container. Good, very good. Then perhaps it is time to put that training to the test. What do you want me to do? Instead of answering your question directly, William of Halliford reaches into his doublet and pulls out a small piece of parchment. With 2 fingers, he pushes it across the desk. Do you know what this is? He asks. You pick up the paper. On it is a drawing of an emblem of sort, a bird in flight surrounded by a pair of concentric circles. It's hardly much to go on. Trading houses, noble families, and even city functionaries all have their own such symbols, and you've never seen this particular one before. You shake your head. That emblem, William explains, is a sigil of House Swanfall, a wealthy noble house hailing from the Duchy of Tornhall. What does it have to do with us? You reply. Tornhall is a week's ride to the north. The crime boss nods. It is indeed, but one of House Swanfall's younger sons, a Lord Berwick, lives in a manse in Kendrickstone. His conduct is of very great concern to me, and by extension, you. William of Halliford leans back in his chair, swirling the wine in his goblet around as he explains. Up until very recently, Lord Berwick and his family have paid for their protection promptly. However, for the last 2 months, no payment has been forthcoming. William of Halliford takes a sip from his goblet and leans forward, resting his elbows firmly at the top of his desk. Perhaps the man thinks his high birth or the distant influence of his family make him impervious of the chastisement I might wish to lay upon him. I need you to prove him wrong. So you want me to make an example of this man for not keeping up with his payments, you ask. William of Halliford replies with a tight-lipped smile. Nothing too harsh, merely a reminder of the value of my protection. The well-groomed man leans back in his chair, his fingers steepled together. What I require of you is quite simple, really. Lord Berwick has in his possession a rather valuable heirloom chalice, a relic of the Flowering Court in surprisingly good condition, which I've wanted for my collection for quite some time. I need you to gain entrance into his house in Kendrickstone and steal it. William's eyes narrow as he grins, cat-like. This will not only prove with a rather nice centerpiece for my collection, but also convince Lord Berwick that there is no substitute for the protection I offer. So, are you interested? Yeah. Excellent, your boss exclaims. I knew I could count on you to jump at the call. Such enthusiasm reflects well on you. William reaches for his goblet, raises it in a toast. You take your own and raise it as well. The 2 brass vessels meet between you with a hollow clink, and you bring yours to your lips. The wine is sweet and rich, with an aroma that brings to mind scenes of dancing pixies and fluttering rose petals. You drain your cup in a single swallow. Now, the well-groomed man says as he puts down his own empty cup, I suppose you must have other questions in mind. Perfect. Wanted something other than that drastic music. Fuck it, this works. I'm getting paid for this, right? William of Halliford responds with laughter, not as normal or urbane chuckle, but a genuine belly laugh. Do you take me for some sort of beggar boy, capable of repaying you with nothing more than thanks and a blessing? He says as his laughter finally fades. I have considerable resources at my disposal. I could offer you gold, fame, even a promotion to the ranks of my trusted lieutenants, should you distinguish yourself. This job is going to be illegal, isn't it? The well-groomed man's eyebrow arcs upwards. What determines whether a thing is legal or illegal, Alexius? Is it whatever the Duke and his council proclaims? Since Duke Lawfric is a good and just ruler, might we then say that something is illegal when it upholds justice? You nod thoughtfully. Ideally, yes. William of Halliford smiles. Then what is justice? Is it when order is maintained for the good of all? Is it when those who provide services receive the fruits of their labor? Is it when those who have been remiss in their obligations are given a chance to rectify their behavior? The man opposite you leans forward, still smiling. What I ask of you will be in the name of those three things. Whether it will be legal is up to you to decide. Oh, yeah, whether it is illegal or not is up to you to decide. When do you want this done? William of Halliford plucks a gold coin from his belt with one hand as he idly refills his goblet with the other. Lord Berwick is what I might call an unstable element. With one hand, the crime lord flips the heavy coin into the air, catching it on the back of his knuckles. Well, while it is quite unlikely that he'll learn of this meeting, there's always the possibility that he already has. That may render him prone to rashness, shall we say. The man opposite you continues rolling the coin over the knuckles of one of his hands as he speaks, his motions almost unconscious. To minimize the risks, I would expect you to act as quickly as you can. Tonight, if possible. Tonight? That's not much time to prepare at all. Despite your boss's assurances, you have no doubt that the job before you will be a risky one. A mission that might test all of your skills. I should go and make some preparations then. Of course, William replies, his smile still easy. Just be ready by tonight. And if you encounter Lord Berwick, keep him alive. He can't pay his fees if he's a corpse. He turns to the guards at the door. Show my young friend out, if you please. It only takes you a few minutes wandering the wide open roads of the wealthy, bright Brightwall district to find Lord Berwick's manse. Considering that the man's family sigil is proudly emblazoned on the gate, you would have to be an idiot to have missed it. Of course, finding it is the easy part. It will be getting in once night comes that will be the hard bit, especially considering what you're up against. The most obvious obstacle in your way is the wall that surrounds the entire complex. Made of stone and a head taller than you are. Worse yet, the stones have been cut smooth and fit tightly together. You'll find no easy handholds if you choose to go in over the wall. The gates might be an even worse proposition. Even from the street, you can see a pair of liveried servants at the front gate, each carrying a sword and a dagger. You can probably subdue them if you're lucky. They're armed servants, not soldiers, but unless you can take down both quickly, they'll be able to sound the alarm and bring who knows how many others upon your head. The sun is low in the sky now. Night comes early this late in the year. You reckon you probably have another hour before the shops close. If you're planning on getting some extra equipment, now's the time to get it. Alternatively, you could spend the extra time snooping around Lord Berwick's property, perhaps looking for easier ways in. Finally, you could see if you can't dig up some additional information on Lord Berwick and his household in the nearby alehouses. Perhaps you'll learn something useful. Let's see, what should we do? Let's see if, let's go pick up some gossip. Alehouses are common businesses in Kendrickstone. It doesn't take too long to find one near Lord Bearwick's estate. You step through the door, put down a few coppers for a tankard of cheap, sour ale, and sit in the corner, hoping not to be noticed as you listen in on the conversations around you. It doesn't take you more than a few minutes to overhear something promising. That bastard hasn't paid us in nearly 2 months now. Oh, that's a woman. Shit. That bastard hasn't paid us in nearly 2 months now, a woman grumbles in the booth next to yours. If this keeps up, I'm nicking the silverware, walking out, and taking service at the keep. Is that such a good idea? Another woman's voice asks. A high-born low like yours will bear a grudge. Surely it can't be that bad. The other woman spits in response. It's worse. The bastard's even been shooting me on ale rations and the other guards too. Why do you think I'm drinking here? Lord Bearwick can go plow himself. So your token hasn't been paying his guards. Perhaps it will make getting in easier than you expected. You finish your tankard and head back out. You make your way back to Lord Bearwick's complex, arriving just as the sun slips below the horizon. With the coming of night, the streets quickly clear. The throngs of people crowding the streets of Kendrickstone just minutes ago have retreated. And the only remaining light comes from the distant starry sky and the open windows of the buildings around you. The wide cobbled streets of the Bright Wall district are empty. You stand before the gate to Lord Bearwick's walled estate and consider your options. The first and most obvious approach would be to go right through the front gate. That would also mean going right through the guards. If you mean to kill or incapacitate them, you'll have to do it quickly before they can raise the alarm and bring guards from other parts of the house to their aid. Of course, you can always try to bribe your way in. If the guards truly haven't been paid for 2 months, they would very likely be susceptible. Alternatively, you could try to talk your way through, if you feel like your wits are sharp enough. You can also pick a dark, secluded spot and try to scale the wall. While you should be able to get yourself over without much trouble, doing so unseen might be a bit more difficult. How good we talking, bro? I'm pretty good talker, though. Pretty good talker overall. Let's see. Let's bribe them. That seems like it has the biggest chance of working. You approach the gate, expression intent. The 2 guards are standing in the soft orange light thrown by a wall-mounted torch. Both are armed, but neither seem particularly alert. As you come closer, one of the guards steps forward, holding his hand out to signal you to stop. His movements are slow and his expression far from alert. Halt, he orders in a voice laden with more boredom than suspicion. State your business. You pull out the coin pouch from your belt and toss it into the air, just high enough for it to rattle with the sparkling ring of silver when it lands in your palm. Why, I'm here to pay you, of course, you reply, smiling. Instantly, the guard's eyes grow wide and alert, but his suspicion evaporates. Oh, that's wonderful news. We haven't pulled pay in months, he continues, smiling as you dole out silver pennies one by one into his open, eager hand. What's going on here? The other guard approaches the 2 of you, her eyes hard and suspicious, her hand resting on the hilt of a battered, but still serviceable-looking weapon. We're getting paid, the first guard exclaims. The second changes the tune at that. The court has judged us kindly. 2 months late is still better than nothing. You put 25 pennies in each guard's hand, a guard's monthly wage in the relatively safe streets of a great city. When you put away the pouch, the guard's expressions fall again. We're owed 2 months' pay. One of them, the woman, protests. You've only given us 1. I've only got enough money to pay every guard in the estate for last month. You reply, as smoothly as you can. I'll come back when this month's paid tomorrow night, I promise. The 2 guards look at each other. The man bites his lip and the woman sighs. Fine, she spits. But you better have the rest of what we're owed tomorrow night. I don't like being strung along like this. With a final suspicious look, she steps back and pushes open the gate for you. You step through and enter the grounds of Lord Berwick's house. Before you stands the imposing stone and timber bulk of Lord Berwick's mansion. Open windows flood the air around them with the soft orange glow of candlelight. Carefully, you make your way towards the building. You move as fast as you can, hoping that nobody looks out a window and spots you moving across the yard. Nobody does. Within moments, you are able to find a side door and slip inside. It takes a few moments for your eyes to adjust to the light from the candles and lamps. When you can finally open your eyes again without squinting, you find yourself in some sort of storage room. Immense casks sit on their sides in 2 rows, one on each side of the cool stone-floored room. Iron taps stick out from the heads of each. 1 second. Okay. After a few minutes of searching, hold on. Okay. You turn one of the taps experimentally. Perhaps Lord Berwick has good taste in ale. But nothing comes out. You try the others, and sure enough, they're all empty. After a few minutes of searching the hallways and rooms around the storage room, you realize that the casks aren't the only thing that are empty. The entire house is deserted. There are none of the sounds of a household either waking or asleep. The 2 guards at the front may as well have been the only people on the estate. Despite this, it is clear that the building has not been empty for long. The smells of cooked meat, spilled ale, unwashed linens, and stale bodies remain. Someone had to have lit the candles, too. The inhabitants cannot have been gone for long, which means they could be back at any moment. However, with the house currently deserted, you no longer have to worry about stealth. It won't take you long to search the place for the chalice. Then another thought hits you. With the mansion deserted, what's stopping you from helping yourself to the rest of Lord Berwick's valuables? Surely a house this big would have something worth misplacing. Still, your time is limited. What do you do first? Search for the chalice, obviously. Otherwise I'll be fucking murdered if I don't. The sooner you find the chalice, the sooner you can actually get out. Unfortunately, that seems to be easier said than done. You search through every room of the place, looking in closed cupboards, cabinets, and closets, keenly aware that every nook and door you open up could lead to a deadly trap or alarm. You find linens, cookware, chamber pots, books, a few lewd messages in a servant's hand, perhaps bottles of perfumes, and even a rather over-decorated warhammer. What you don't find is the chalice you're looking for. Perhaps the thing has been placed in some sort of secret vault or hidden compartment. If only you had a clue. A piece of paper is resting in one of the niches set in the set in the wall of the main hall catches your eye. All the other niches hold artifacts of some sort: vases, amulets, strange-looking statuettes. This one holds only a scrap of parchment. Curious, you pick it up and read it. Remember, the chalice is being taken to the docks for the exchange tonight. Do not report it stolen. The bottom of the paper bears the unmistakable wax of Lord Berwick of Swanfall. Experimentally, you wipe your finger on one of the ink blots of the note. It comes away stained black. This note could have been written more than an hour ago. The exchange, whatever that is happening tonight. You take a deep breath to gather your thoughts and your options. Judging by the state of the house and the note, you doubt that Lord Berwick left with the chalice very long ago. If you're quick and lucky, you may still have time to get to the docks and stop him before he makes the exchange, whatever it might be. If you let him go through with it, you're quite sure the chalice will not end up in your hands. However, you don't know what treasures might still be hidden in the house. A hidden coffer or a strongbox, maybe. Could there be a chance that you'd be able to stay just a little longer without letting the chalice slip away? Perhaps there is. Every moment you spend here means your chances of getting the chalice before it slips through your hands permanently decrease. But that doesn't mean the risk isn't an acceptable one, right? I'd love to say, but I don't have any time to lose. Well, you're sure there's an argument to be made for taking a closer look through Lord Bearwick's estate. Every second you delay increases the chance that your quest will fail. You need to get to the docks now. You slip out the same way you came in, back into the yard. It takes a few moments for your eyes. Hold on. You slip out the same way you came in, back into the yard. It takes a few moments for your eyes to adjust to the darkness. The guards still stand outside the front gate, entirely unaware that you've just ransacked their master's house. You rush through the front gate at a dead run, leaving two confused guards in your wake. One of them shouts for you to stop, but by the time you hear her, you've already turned down the street that will take you to the docks. You run down the darkened streets of the Brightwall district as fast as you can, knowing that every second lost might make you a second too late. Before long, the wide and neatly cobbled boulevards of the wealthiest quarter of the city turn into a narrow, muddy street of the remainder. If only your lungs were stronger. Okay. Before long, your lungs are already starting to burn. You push yourself to keep running, but soon you must stop, leaning against the side of a half-timbered house as you regain your breath in a ragged, half-choking gasp. If only your legs were stronger, your endurance greater. Now you must pay for the weaknesses of your body with the precious time you spend recovering before you set off once again. Before you long, you are sprinting into the maze of warehouses that surround Kendrickstone's commercial harbor. Thinking frantically, you dredge up what you know about the Kendrickstone's docks. You don't have time to search every single wharf. So what would be the most likely place for a noble of repute to trade a valuable artifact without being spotted? Wait, no. The dock nearest to the city's walls would be the best bet. Only small ships can dock there, so it is usually empty. Its awkward position also means it is very secluded. You rush to the wharf in question and turn a corner to see a dark figure in a fur-trimmed coat of a noble, surrounded by distinctive silhouettes of armed men and women. It's Lord Bearwick for sure, and in his hand sits a large cup of burnished brass. Lord Bearwick is clearly waiting for the person he is set to make the exchange with. If you confront him now, you might have a fair chance of getting through his four guards and wresting the chalice and some answers from the nobleman. Then again, if you wait, you might be able to find out who Lord Bearwick's mysterious trading partner is. Of course, if the other party brings more guards, you'll have to fight through them as well. Lest you simply stand by, watch the exchange happen, and let the chalice slip from your grasp. What do you do? My boss would kill me if I didn't at least try to find out who he was trading with. As you watch from your shadowed position, you catch sight of a distant flame out beyond the city's walls, its source hidden by the mist of the river Colmere. Only as it slowly drifts closer does the source of the flame reveal itself, a figure clad in black atop a tiny flat-bottomed skiff, a torch in his or her. It's hard to tell from where you stand, hands. Two other figures stand with the torch-bearer on the small boat, guiding it down towards the wharf where Lord Bearwick and his guards await. The figure with the torch steps off the boat as it bumps against the stone wharf. It is then that you notice that the torch is not a torch at all, but a small flame suspended over the newcomer's hand. The figure approaches Lord Bearwick, bony limbs and robed by a full-length black cloak. "Do you have it?" A man's voice, low and rich, asks from the cloak. Lord Bearwick nods with a sycophantic haste, entirely at odds with his noble status. "Yes, here. It's Lord Millis." "Yes, here it is, Lord Millis," he says as he presents the chalice. As the robed man, Lord Millis, approaches to take the chalice, you feel a strange sensation, like a finger softly poking at your mind. Shit. Milius suddenly steps back, his head whipping to one side then the other, and then finally facing you. "Fool!" he shouts, as he turns back to Lord Bearwick. You've been followed! The cloaked man's arms glow bright with blue light. The next thing you know, a bright ribbon of lightning knocks towards you. There's no time to dodge. Electricity blasts through you, burning and tearing your flesh from the inside out. You stagger under the magical assault. By the time you regain your bearings, the rogue wizard is already back aboard his skiff, being rowed away by his companions. Lord Berwick turns to you, chalice still gripped in his hands as his knuckles grow bone white with anger. Gods, deal with this ruffian! You are no assassin, that is clear to your would-be opponents. They look to you over appraisingly, their hands gripping their steel-sheathed swords. However, Lord Berwick's paranoia appears to have gotten the better of him. Defend me! A gold coin to the one who takes him down. Coin gets the god to do what loyalty to the master would not. These are, after all, hirelings. The four gods draw their blades and advance upon you. We're going for it. Fucking gamble time. You step forward, arms akimbo, doing your very best to look unconcerned. I wouldn't do that if I were you, you declare, just a touch short of a bellow. The sheer incongruity of your response to your apparent situation gives the gods pause. No, better than that, it stops them in their tracks. You've brought yourself a moment, and a moment is all you need. You smile disarmingly, walk up to the gods, and your arms spread wide, your hands open, and outstretched the very image of someone who has everything under control. Tell me, you don't happen to see anyone over there, do you? You ask the nearest god as you wave one hand in the vague direction of a shadowed corner. The god looks and turns back confused. Your false smile grows wider. No? Good. Alice is getting better at hiding then. You turn toward the entirely empty pool of darkness you're still pointing at. Well done, Alice. Keep practicing. Your shout is disturbingly jovial. The god turns again, this time with the clear intent of taking a closer look. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Alice might not be good at hiding, but she's a dead shot with a crossbow. Could tear at your throat with a bolt from this distance. The god gulps hard. You can see the sweat dripping down his face. The other god begins to look nervous too, but that says nothing to the noble master. Lord Berwick's eyes dart from shadow to shadow. Judging by his expression, he's already seen the shadowy outlines of assassins in every one. In fact, you add, they're all good shots. Tom, John, Maris, Ethel, Edgar. You gesture offhandedly at more random shadows as you tell each name. They don't like killing hired gods, of course, but if you poor gods are stupid enough to fight instead of run, what choice do they have? Lord Berwick's gods take the none so subtle hint. Within moments they have disappeared into the darkness, their weapons discarded on the ground. However, much Lord Berwick is paying them, it apparently wasn't enough. Speaking of which, Lord Berwick stands alone and unarmed. His face is contorted with a combination of fury at his betrayal and fear at what he must feel is his inevitable fate. The chalice remains still clutched in his white-knuckled hands. Lord Berwick trembles as he matches your gaze, but his words come out with a forced evenness of a man desperate not to show fear. You have me at your mercy, assassin, he says as he extends his arms to his side, leaving nothing protecting his chest save his fur-lined doublet. Get this over with. You try to suppress a vicious grin, and partially succeed. I'm afraid I'm not here to kill you. A pity. Lord Berwick's eyebrows jump up in shock. What? He looks at his sides as he takes a step back. What do you want? I want the chalice. The nobleman looks down at the chalice in his hands and then looks back up, his expression contorted in rage. God damn you to internal languishment, he snarls. The full length of his curse betraying the heat of his anger. Take it. There's no way I can make the exchange. The cursed thing is worth nothing to me now. With a grunt of disgust, he heaves the large metal cup towards you. It clatters as it lands on your feet. For an instant, you see the markings upon it glow a pale arcane blue as it strikes the ground. Slowly, you stoop down and scoop up the heavy metal cup, keeping your eyes on the nobleman in front of you the whole time. Lord Berwick seems to have gained some of his composure, but that just means his expression has lessened from anger to gloom. My family is doomed now. My folly has ruined us all. He laments. What's that supposed to mean? I want some answers. You get the feeling that Lord Berwick is incredulous at your request, but this whole night has given you more questions than answers, and perhaps the man in front of you can rectify that. In fact, you manage it with nothing more than some prodding and a few veiled threats. After that, Lord Berwick begins to tell his story in earnest. Still, in the state of shock, he explains how years ago he supplemented his family's income with a smuggling operation. Using his family's connections to avoid discovery, he tells you how, over the years, he invested more and more of his wealth in the illicit trade, hoping that greater investment would lead to greater profits. 3 months ago, I funded what was to be the greatest endeavor of all, a barge of spices to be shipped north from Alihar to in the Corlandas, directly up the Colamere to Kendrickstone. I put all of my funds into it, Lord Berwick says. You nod. Normally the Coleandine government taxes shipments of cinnamon, cloves, and such nutmeg heavily enough to multiply the price tenfold by the time they come as far north as Kendrickstone. If Lord Berwick had been able to smuggle his haul into the city, he would have become wealthy beyond imagining. Alas, it was not meant to be, the nobleman continues. 40 leagues south of the city, my shipment disappeared. The barge, the spices, the 12 of my gods, gone. Lord Berwick looks away, the fear in his expression slowly being replaced with indignation. At first I thought the knights seized it, but they were apparently in the north, getting a tax cart or something. At the time, the Lord shakes his head. No, it was the bandits who did it, the ones dressed in black. Wait, what? How could that be possible? You know for a fact that the bandits attacked the tax cart coming from the Halliford 3 months ago, and now Lord Berwick insists that his own shipment was taken at the same time, by the same bandits at a point nearly a week's ride to the south? Could the bandits have some kind of access to some kind of magic spell? Perhaps there are two groups of bandits, one acting to occupy the knights while the other struck south. You press your suspicions. Lord Berwick shakes his head and all but sputters his reply. How would I know? Maybe you should ask the bandits yourself if you are so keen for answers. The nobleman sneers. Your grip tightens on your weapon, the bastard's trying to get you angry. Maybe you should demonstrate why that isn't such a good idea. William of Halliford wanted that man alive. He didn't say anything about kneecaps. It takes you another round of goading to get the nobleman to continue, but even a fool could have worked out how the story would end. With all of his wealth in the hands of a black-cat bandits, Lord Berwick would not have had no money to pay his guards and no money to pay William of Halliford. It seems Lord Berwick's motive for refusing to pay protection money wasn't greed, but simply that he couldn't. He fills in the rest of the gaps himself. How he sent his family and servants away in Town Hall, leaving only a skeleton force of hired guards. They'd been the ones escorting Lord Berwick tonight, all save the two he'd left behind at the front entrance of his mansion to maintain the facade of normalcy. Same guards you snuck past earlier tonight. That only leaves one question. What about the exchange? You ask. What were you going to trade the chalice for? Lord Berwick grits his teeth. It should be obvious, stupid boy. A week ago I received a message from the bandits saying that they'd seized my shipment. They wanted the chalice in return for my stolen spices. If my wealth had been returned to me, I could have paid off William of Halliford. My family and servants would no longer have needed to hide in fear of his assassins. The nobleman sags, as if a sudden realization had finally drawn the air from him. Now all is lost again. His face flushes with panic again. They'll be after me. William of Halliford will kill me for not paying him. The bandits will think I planned this. They'll be after me too. He suddenly steps forward, seizing you by the shoulders. Please, you need to let me go. My life depends on it. Never mind. Get out of here. Lord Berwick bolts the second you say the words. Before long, all you can hear of him are his running footsteps fading into the night. Your job done, you return to your lodgings exhausted. That night, you manage to catch a few hours of sleep in your bed. In the keep. You rest easy, confident in the knowledge that you've done your job and exhausted by the night's adventure. When the sun comes up again, you get up, eat a light meal, and head down to Brightwall District to make your report. Hey. The guards show you to the same room where William of Halliford commissioned you for this job the day before. Once again he sits behind the desk, 2 goblets at the table. His double light is red today, but that's the only indication that he has slept, eaten, or even moved since you last saw him. He greets you with, Good morning. Sit down if you please. As you enter, gesturing the same chair as you sat in yesterday. When you do, the well-groomed man goes straight into business. The chalice. Do you have it? You reach into your pack and pull out the great metal cup, setting it on the table with a dull clink. William of Halliford smiles and claps his hand together. Well done indeed. He fills both of the goblets and hands one to you. I'd hoped that my faith in your abilities was not misplaced. It is most gratifying to be proved correct. He raises his goblet. To your health, boy. He raises his cup to his lips and you do the same. This time the wine is light, almost airy, filling your nostrils with flowery scents as it slides down your throat. Now, William continues as he sets the goblet back on the table, let's discuss the matter of payment. William of Halliford reaches into his belt pouch. He retrieves the now familiar shape of a rolled up piece of paper tied with a ribbon enclosed with his personal seal, for of protection. With 2 fingers he sets it down on the table and pushes it towards you. This writ is good for the next few months. I suggest you keep it on you at all times. The man continues to speak as you tuck the paper away. Take care of that writ. The price of my protection is set to double in the next week. Rising prices, you know. With that, your boss sits back in his chair, steepling his fingers. That is, of course, only part of the reward I wish to offer you. For the remainder, I give you a choice. First, since you have proven yourself to be a person of great ability and discretion, offer you a promotion within our organization. Instead of working as a courier, you shall be a full-fledged associate with control over one of our minor operations. You don't need to think long about that offer to realize the benefits it would bring. Becoming an associate would get you more money and genuine power within William Halliford's organization. Alternatively, he continues, I could offer you payment in gold. Shall we say 5 pieces? I would think that more than fair for a single night's work. A more than fair offer, really. Despite the skyrocketing prices of food and rent, 5 gold dukes or 500 silver pennies is more than what a day's labor would make in a year. Would you rather something more material? A sword, perhaps? Marshal? I don't know. William spreads his arms graciously. I certainly have many to spare in my collection. For a moment, you think the man sitting opposite you has laid out all possible options, but then he leans in conspiratorially and offers one more. Perhaps it is fame you wish, as opposed to material wealth. They can make some arrangements and make your name a little more well known. There they are, all the options presented to you. Which one will you choose? I want to become an associate. William of Halliford smiles even wider and claps his hand together again. Excellent, I was hoping you'd favor that choice. Your boss pours 2 fresh goblets of wine. I shall make sure the news goes out to your fellow associates this evening. I'll have this operation set up for you in a few days, along with some new rooms more befitting your station. Until then, he hands you one of the full goblets. Rest. You deserve it. You take the goblet and your boss raises his matching cup. May you prove successful in your new endeavors. He drinks deep, as do you. Within 3 days, you are delivered a message from your boss. You're now in charge of ensuring that all inns, taverns, and bawdy houses in the warrens and dock districts pay for their writs of protection on time. In addition, you are entitled to a small cut of their payments, which is likely to add up to quite a substantial sum. It is a lucrative post, and one worthy of a trusted lieutenant. There are fortunes to be made in such a job. You can't wait to get started. Winter continues onwards as you settle into your new job. The days become grayer and colder and full of snow, and yet the bandits' attacks continue to worsen. Even after nearly a week of rest, your wounds, actually, I'll cut it here. Right, I'm gonna cut it here. So that way it's not too crazy for the recording. 1 second.